The massive alien ships appeared on every screen across Earth at exactly 3:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Children stopped playing in schoolyards to stare at the sky. Office workers pressed their faces against windows. Traffic came to a complete stop as drivers got out of their cars to look up. The ships were huge. Not just big, but impossibly enormous. Each one was the size of a small city. Dark metal stretched across space like giant black clouds. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They blocked out the sun in some places, casting long shadows over entire countries. Admiral Jake Patterson was eating a ham sandwich when the first reports came in. He sat in his command chair at the United Earth Defense Command, his feet up on his desk, watching the news coverage on his tablet. His uniform was wrinkled, and he had mustard on his shirt. Jake was not what most people expected when they thought of Earth's top military leader. "Sir?" called Lisa Martinez from her communication station. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and thick glasses. "We're getting transmissions from the alien fleet." Jake took another bite of his sandwich. "What kind of transmissions?" 17 different languages, sir. All saying the same thing." "And what's that?" Lisa cleared her throat and read from her screen. "People of Earth, you are weak. You are primitive. You will surrender now or face destruction. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your technology is like toys to us. Bow down to the mighty Korathian Dominion." The command center went quiet. 30 officers and technicians stopped what they were doing and looked at Jake. They expected panic, maybe fear, certainly some kind of serious military response. Instead, Jake started laughing. It wasn't a small chuckle. It was a full, deep belly laugh that echoed through the room. He laughed so hard he nearly choked on his sandwich. Tears formed in his eyes. "Sir?" Lisa asked, confused. "Did they really just call our technology toys?" Jake wiped his eyes with his sleeve. "And they want us to bow down? To what, exactly? Giant flying garbage cans?" Captain Ryan Cooper walked over from the tactical station. He was tall and thin, with red hair and freckles. He had been Jake's friend since military academy, and he knew that look in Jake's eyes. "What are you thinking, Jake?" "I'm thinking," Jake said, standing up and brushing crumbs off his uniform, "that these aliens have never met humans before." On the main screen, news reports showed the alien fleet from every angle. The ships did look intimidating at first glance. They were dark, angular, covered in sharp points and glowing red lights. But the longer Jake looked at them, the more he noticed something else. "Ryan," Jake said, pointing at the screen, "what do those ships remind you of?" Ryan squinted at the display. "You know, now that you mention it, they look kind of like ... toilets," said Lisa from her station. "They look like flying toilets." The room erupted in laughter. Once someone said it, nobody could unsee it. The fearsome alien dreadnoughts really did look like bathroom fixtures, with engines attached. The sharp points looked like decorative handles. The glowing red lights looked like those weird lights some people put in their bathrooms. "Lisa," Jake said, still grinning, "open a channel to the alien fleet." "Sir?" "You heard me. Full broadcast, all frequencies. And patch it through to social media while you're at it." Lisa's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Channel open, sir." "You're?" "Live to the entire galaxy." Jake straightened his wrinkled uniform and looked directly into the camera. "Greetings, Korathian Dominion. This is Admiral Jake Patterson of Earth. We received your message about surrendering and bowing down, and we have a response." He paused, looking serious for a moment. The entire planet held its breath. "First, thanks for the laugh. We really needed that today. Second, we'd like to offer you some free interior design advice. Your ships look like they were designed by someone who really, really loves bathroom fixtures. We're not intimidated. We're mostly just confused about your decorating choices. Ryan stepped into frame, holding up his tablet. We've actually prepared a presentation for you. It's called Why Your Fleet Looks Like Flying Space Toilets. A human perspective. Would you like us to send it over? On the alien flagship, Admiral Zeekter stared at the transmission in complete bewilderment. He was 7 feet tall, with gray skin and 4 arms. He had conquered 47 different worlds. He had destroyed entire star systems. He had never, in his 300 years of life, been compared to bathroom equipment. What, he said slowly, is a toilet? His communications officer, a nervous creature with tentacles instead of hair, quickly searched the human data networks. Sir, it appears to be a device humans use for waste disposal. Zeekter's 4 eyes widened in horror. They think our magnificent war fleet looks like waste disposal devices? Back on Earth, Jake was just getting started. We've also noticed that your ship formation spells out what looks like a very rude word in 17 different human languages. Was that intentional? Or do you just have really bad luck with formations? The alien response came quickly. Zeekter's angry face filled screens around the world. You dare mock the mighty Korathian Dominion. We have weapons that can destroy your pathetic planet. Jake nodded seriously. Oh, we're sure you do. But before you blow us up, could you answer one question? Do your ships make flushing sounds when they fire their weapons? Because that would be amazing. The transmission cut off abruptly from the alien side. Ryan clapped Jake on the shoulder. Well, that went better than expected. Lisa, Jake said, settling back into his chair. How's social media responding? Lisa checked her screens, and her eyes went wide. Sir, the hashtag toilet fleet is trending worldwide. We have 50 million memes already. And ... Oh my, the aliens are getting roasted harder than Thanksgiving turkey. Jake picked up his sandwich again. Good. Send me the best ones. I want to include them in tomorrow's presentation. Above Earth, the Korathian fleet hung in space, their mighty admiral trying to figure out why his fearsome reputation had suddenly become a joke. Admiral Zeekter had not slept in 3 days. He sat in his command chamber, surrounded by tactical advisors who were just as confused as he was. The holographic displays around him showed Earth's response to their arrival, and none of it made sense. Explain this to me again, Zeekter said, pointing at a screen showing thousands of human images. What are these colorful pictures with words on them? His chief advisor, Commander Vextall, nervously adjusted his breathing apparatus. The humans call them memes, sir. They appear to be some form of psychological warfare. Warfare? Zeekter leaned forward. These small pictures are weapons? We believe so, sir. They spread faster than any virus we've encountered. Within 6 hours of your transmission, these images were viewed by billions of beings across the galaxy. Zeekter studied the images. One showed his face with the words, "When you try to look scary, but end up looking constipated." Another showed his fleet with bathroom fixtures labeled underneath each ship type. A third showed him with a crown made of toilet paper. This must be their battle strategy, Zeekter decided. They are trying to confuse us before they reveal their true military might. On Earth, Captain Amy Johnson was having the time of her life. She sat in the diplomatic meeting room, but instead of formal conference tables and serious faces, she had set up something very different. Construction paper covered the walls. Crayon drawings were taped everywhere. A box of children's art supplies sat in the center of the table. Captain Johnson, Lisa Martinez said through the communication system, the aliens are requesting a formal diplomatic meeting. Perfect, Amy replied. She was 32 years old, with blonde hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore her dress uniform, but she had added a small pin shaped like a toilet to her collar. Put them through. The hologram flickered to life, showing Admiral Ziegler and his command staff. They looked serious, intimidating, ready for important negotiations about Earth's surrender. Amy smiled and held up a piece of construction paper, with stick figures drawn on it. "Welcome to Earth's official diplomatic response," she said cheerfully. "I've prepared a visual presentation about your fleet using advanced human artistic techniques." Gichter blinked his 4 eyes. "Advanced artistic techniques?" "Oh, yes," Amy said, holding up another paper. This one showed the alien ships drawn in purple crayon next to common household items. "This is your flagship, and this is my grandmother's toilet. Notice the remarkable similarity in design philosophy." She held up more drawings. "This is your battlecruiser next to a vacuum cleaner. This is your destroyer next to a hairdryer. And this," she held up a particularly colorful drawing, "is your entire fleet next to items you can buy at any hardware store on Earth." The alien command staff looked at each other in confusion. One of them, a creature with 6 arms, whispered something to Ziegler. "Captain Johnson," Ziegler said slowly, Are you making fun of us?" "Oh, absolutely," Amy replied without hesitation. "But it's educational mockery. See, humans have this thing where we laugh at things that try too hard to look scary. Your ships are trying so hard to look intimidating that they've gone all the way around to looking silly." She picked up another drawing, like this one. "You have 17 gun ports on the side of your ship, but they're arranged in a pattern that spells out help in our alphabet. Did you know that?" Ziegler looked at his tactical display and counted the gun ports. She was right. That was not intentional, he said stiffly. "We figured," Amy said. "But it's really funny." "Oh, and the way your ships fly in formation? You're basically writing curse words in space. Every time you move, you're accidentally spelling out something that would get you in trouble with your mom." Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Steve Adams was in his quarters, editing his latest video. Steve was 28, with dark hair and a beard he was probably too proud of. He had been making videos about video games and movies before the aliens arrived. Now he was famous across the galaxy. "Okay, everyone," he said to his camera. "Welcome back to Alien Fleet or Yard Sale Items. Today we're looking at what the Corathians call a Terror-class dreadnought." He held up a picture of one of the alien ships next to a photo of an old washing machine. "Now, I'm not saying these are the same thing," Steve continued, "but if you squint a little and maybe drink some coffee, you'll notice they both have the same basic shape, the same little windows, and they both make weird noises when they're working." His video editor, a college student named Pete, had added sound effects. Every time Steve pointed to an alien ship, a toilet flushing sound played. Every time he pointed to a household appliance, dramatic space battle music played. "The big difference," Steve said, "is that the washing machine actually cleans things, while the alien ship just makes messes. So really, the washing machine is more advanced technology." The video had been viewed 2 billion times in 12 hours. The comments section was full of aliens from other species, admitting they had always thought Corathian ships looked ridiculous, but were too scared to say anything. One comment from a species called the Vortani read, "Finally someone said it. We've been laughing at their ships for centuries, but they kept conquering people, so we stayed quiet." Another from the Zeltharian Republic. "Our children use pictures of Corathian ships to learn about basic geometry. They call them the funny toilet people." Back on the Corathian flagship, Ziegler was reading these comments with growing horror. "Sir," Commander Vextel said quietly, "it appears that multiple species have been finding our ship designs amusing. For some time. How long? Ziegler asked. According to Galactic social media archives, approximately 250 years, sir. Ziegler felt something he had never experienced before. His species didn't have a word for it, but humans would. Have called it humiliation. Sir, his communications officer announced, the humans are sending another transmission. On the screen, Captain Amy Johnson appeared again. This time she was holding what looked like a children's picture book. Admiral Ziegler, she said sweetly, I've written a story for you. It's called The Little Fleet That Tried Too Hard. Would you like me to read it to you? Before he could answer, she opened the book and began reading in the same voice. Humans used to read bedtime stories to children. Once upon a time, there was a little alien fleet that wanted to be scary. It painted its ships dark colors and added lots of pointy bits. But instead of looking scary, it looked like a collection of bathroom fixtures that had escaped from a plumbing store. Ziegler turned off the transmission. Sir, Vextel asked carefully, what are your orders? Ziegler stared at the tactical display, showing his mighty fleet, trying to see them as the humans did. Once you noticed the toilet resemblance, it was impossible to unsee. I need to think, he said finally. Across the galaxy, other species were downloading human comedy shows and learning to laugh at things they had feared for centuries. The mighty Corathian Dominion was becoming a joke, and they didn't know how. To fight back against an enemy that refused to take them seriously. Admiral Ziegler decided he had endured enough humiliation. His species had ruled half the galaxy through fear and superior firepower. It was time to remind these laughing humans why everyone else surrendered without a fight. Target the asteroid. Belt, he commanded from his bridge. We will destroy one of their larger rocks. When they see our power, they will stop this foolish mockery. The massive alien ship turned toward a football-sized asteroid floating between Mars and Jupiter. Energy gathered in the ship's main weapon, crackling with purple lightning. The gun was the size of a city block, capable of destroying entire moons. On Earth, every news station switched to live coverage. Military satellites tracked the alien weapon as it charged up, ready to fire at the United Earth Defense Command. Captain Nicole Brown sat in the communications chair, wearing a headset and holding a microphone. Nicole was 35, with brown hair and the kind of voice that made her perfect for sports commentary. Before the military, she had called baseball games for the local radio station. Ladies and gentlemen, Nicole announced as cameras broadcast her voice across the planet, we're about to witness the Corathian Dominion's big show of force. The alien fleet has targeted a small asteroid, and they're charging up what looks like their biggest gun. She paused dramatically, watching the energy levels build on her screens. Now, folks, I've got to say, if you need a gun that big to hit a rock that's just sitting there doing nothing, you might want to consider getting your eyes checked. This is like using a rocket launcher to kill a mosquito, if the mosquito was. Already dead and nailed to a wall, the alien weapon fired. A beam of pure energy lanced across space, striking the asteroid dead center. The rock exploded in a brilliant flash of light and debris. And there it goes. Nicole called out like she was announcing a home run. The mighty alien death ray has successfully destroyed an inanimate object that wasn't moving, wasn't fighting back, and probably wasn't even paying attention. Let's see the instant replay on that, folks. The footage played again in slow motion, showing the massive energy beam obliterating the small rock. Now, I'm no military expert, Nicole continued, but I'm pretty sure that gun used enough energy to power New York City for about 6 months, all to destroy something I could have taken out with a really good slingshot. That's what we call in the sports world style points over substance. Commander Alex Turner was watching from the science division, and he was furious. Not at the aliens, but at their terrible efficiency. Alex was a short, thin man with wild, gray hair, who looked like he had been struck by lightning. He was also one of Earth's best engineers. "Lisa," he called over to the communications station, "patch me through to the global network. I need to explain something to people." Within minutes, Alex was on every screen on Earth, standing in front of a whiteboard covered in equations. Diagrams. "Okay, everyone," Alex said, pushing his glasses up his nose. "I just watched the aliens blow up that asteroid, and I have to tell you something. That weapon they're so proud of? It's garbage." He turned to his whiteboard and started drawing circles and arrows. Here's what they did wrong. First, they used enough energy to destroy a small moon just to blow up a rock the size of a car. That's like using a nuclear bomb to light a cigarette. Second, their beam was so wide that 90% of the energy missed the target completely and shot off into empty space. Alex drew more diagrams, getting more excited as he explained. Third, and this is the best part, their targeting system took 47 seconds to lock onto a target that wasn't moving. My grandmother could have aimed faster, and she's been dead for 10 years. We built better weapons than this in 1975. He pointed to another diagram showing human missile technology. One of our old cruise missiles from 50 years ago could have done the same job using 1% of the energy, hit the target in half the time, and cost about 1,000 times less to build. These aliens are like someone who shows up to a knife fight carrying a cannon, but the cannon is made of cardboard and they're holding it backwards. The explanation went viral instantly. Within hours, engineering students across the galaxy were using the alien weapon as an example of what not to do when designing military equipment. Dr. Rachel White was having her own fun with the situation. Rachel was a short woman with curly red hair who studied alien psychology. She worked at the University of California, but today she was getting calls from research institutions across the galaxy. The behavior we're seeing from the Corathian Dominion is a textbook case of overcompensation, she explained to a packed auditorium that was being broadcast to 17 different star systems. When a species feels insecure about their actual capabilities, they often build things that are much larger than necessary. She clicked to her next slide, showing the alien fleet next to human ships. Notice how their ships are 10 times bigger than they need to be for their cruise size. Notice how they have weapons that are too powerful for any practical use. Notice how everything they build has extra spikes and decorations that serve no function except to look scary. The audience laughed as she showed comparison photos. This is the behavior of a species that's afraid other people won't think they're tough enough. It's like a small dog that barks very loudly to make up for the fact that it weighs 5 pounds. The bigger the ship, the smaller the confidence. Her presentation was titled, Overcompensation in Interstellar Species, Why Aliens Build Really Big Ships, and it became required reading in psychology courses across the galaxy. On the Corathian flagship, Admiral Ziegler watched these human responses with growing disbelief. His devastating display of power had been turned into a science lesson about bad engineering and a psychology lecture about insecurity. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "the humans have created a song about our weapon." "Test? A song?" The officer played the audio. It was a catchy tune with lyrics that went, "Big boom, little rock, someone needs to learn to knock. Big gun, tiny brain, alien fleet down the drain." It was already #1 on the galactic music charts. "Sir," his communications officer added. Nervously, the humans have also created a children's educational program using our weapon test to teach basic physics. They're calling it Why Aliens Don't Understand Math. Ziegler looked at his tactical display. His fleet of mighty warships, feared across the galaxy, had become educational material for human children. "And sir," the officer continued, 17 different species have sent us messages thanking us for providing such excellent examples of what not to do when building weapons. Zetor realized with growing horror that his demonstration of power had made things worse. Much worse. The humans weren't just mocking his fleet anymore. They were teaching the entire galaxy to laugh at him. "Sir," his science advisor said quietly, "perhaps we should consider a different approach." Zetor stared at the screens showing human response videos, alien species sharing jokes about his fleet, and children across the galaxy singing songs about how bad his weapons were. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Zetor had no idea what to do next. 3 weeks after the humans began their Mockery campaign, something unexpected happened across the galaxy. Species that had been afraid of the Korathian Dominion for centuries began to lose their fear. It started small. A few jokes on social media from the Vortani Republic. Some funny videos from the Zeltharian colonies. But soon, entire civilizations were creating content, making fun of the aliens who had once terrorized them. Captain Ben Clark was monitoring galactic communications. When he noticed the change, Ben was a quiet man with black hair and sharp eyes who usually worked in intelligence. Today, he was watching the galaxy's internet explode with anti-Korathian content. "Admiral Patterson," Ben called across the command center, "you need to see this." Jake walked over, still carrying his coffee mug. "What's up, Ben?" "The Trilaxian Empire just declared independence from Korathian rule," Ben said, pointing at his screen. "They broadcast it using one of our meme formats. They literally said, 'We quit,' with a picture of Admiral Zetor looking confused. Jake nearly spit out his coffee. "They declared independence with a meme?" "That's not all," Ben continued, scrolling through reports. "The Nexus Coalition is refusing to pay their tribute taxes. The Outer Rim territories are kicking out Korathian administrators. And the Galactic Trade Union just canceled all contracts with the Dominion." Lisa Martinez looked up from her station. "Sir, we're getting messages from resistance groups across the galaxy. They're asking for our help." "What kind of help?" Jake asked. "They want to learn how to make memes." Jake sat down heavily in his chair. "We accidentally started a galactic revolution with internet jokes." "It's better," Ben said with a grin. "The Korathians are trying to cut off internet access to stop the spread of our content. And it's not working. Actually, it's making things worse." The problem was that the Korathians didn't understand how human internet culture worked. They controlled the main galactic communication networks, but humans had a backup plan that was so simple it was brilliant. Lieutenant Sarah Davis stood in the railgun bay, watching as her team loaded another batch of storage devices into the launch tubes. Sarah was 29, with short blonde hair and the kind of smile that made people trust her immediately. She had been an IT specialist before joining the military. "Okay, people," Sarah announced to her team, "Operation Meme Drop is a go. We're launching 10,000 USB drives to 47 different star systems. Each drive contains the complete human collection of Korathian jokes, plus instruction manuals for making your own." The railgun fired with a sound like thunder. Thousands of small storage devices shot out into space at incredible speeds, each. One programmed to find populated planets and deliver their cargo of human humor. "Sarah," Jake's voice came through the communication system, "how long until the first drives reach their targets?" "First wave hits the Vortani system in 6 hours, sir. They're expecting them. Apparently, they've set up collection points." "Collection points?" "Yes, sir. Entire planets are organizing to catch our joke deliveries. The Trilaxians built a special stadium just for collecting human comedy USB drives." Jake shook his head in amazement. "This is the weirdest war in galactic history." Things got even weirder when Admiral Zetor made his biggest mistake yet. Frustrated by the constant mockery and the collapse of his empire, he decided to respond. Personally, the human taunts. The transmission came through on all channels. Ziegler stood on his bridge, all four arms spread wide, his gray skin dark with anger. He wore his full ceremonial armor, covered in medals and decorations from his many conquests. "Humans of Earth," he began, his voice deep and threatening. "You think you are clever with your jokes and your pictures. But you know nothing of war. You know nothing of power. I have destroyed entire civilizations. I have burned planets to ash. I have crushed the dreams of 1,000 worlds." He paused, clearly expecting this to be intimidating. "Your pathetic mockery means nothing to me. I am Admiral Ziegler, terror of the void, destroyer of worlds, supreme commander of the Korathian Dominion. I have 400 years of military experience. I have weapons that could end your species in minutes. Fear me, humans, for I am your doom." The transmission ended with Ziegler staring menacingly at the camera, his four eyes glowing with rage. On Earth, the human response was immediate and devastating. Commander Jake Thompson, who had been making children's books about the aliens, was the first to react. Jake was a tall man with a beard who looked like he should be teaching kindergarten instead of serving in the military. He had been an elementary school teacher before joining the Space Force. "Did he just say he's 400 years old?" Jake asked, watching the transmission replay. "And he's still having tantrums like a toddler?" Within an hour, Jake had created a new children's book called Admiral Ziegler and His Very Bad Day. It featured a cartoon alien who got grumpy when nobody was scared of him. But the humans weren't finished. The alien's angry speech became raw. Material for the galaxy's new favorite hobby, remixing Korathian threats into dance music. A DJ named Marcus Williams took Ziegler's speech and turned it into an electronic dance track. The angry alien words became the beat, with synthesizers and drums added behind them. The song was called Terror of the Void Remix, and it became the most popular dance song in galactic history. Radio stations across 17 star systems were playing it. Nightclubs were packed with aliens dancing to the sound of their former oppressor's voice. The Vortani Republic declared it their new national anthem. But the most devastating response came from the children. Human kids started making their own videos, copying Ziegler's dramatic poses and angry voice. They would stand in front of cameras, spread their arms wide, and declare themselves supreme commander of the playground or terror of the lunchroom. The videos were hilarious. 6-year-old kids mimicking the 400-year-old alien admiral, complete with toy medals and cardboard armor. They would list their terrible achievements. "I have conquered the monkey bars. I have destroyed sandcastles. I have made my little sister cry." The most popular was made by a 7-year-old girl named Emma, who declared herself destroyer of vegetables, terror of bedtime, supreme commander of not doing homework. Across the galaxy, adults were watching human children mock their former oppressor, and they realized something important. If Earth's children weren't afraid of Admiral Ziegler, why should anyone else be? The Korathian Dominion began to crumble, not through military defeat, but through complete loss of respect. Planets that had been conquered centuries ago suddenly remembered they outnumbered their occupiers 1,000,000 to 1. On the Korathian flagship, Admiral Ziegler sat alone in his quarters, watching compilation videos of human children making fun of him. His 400-year military career had been destroyed by elementary school kids with cameras. "Sir," his communications officer called through the door, "the humans have sent another message." "What do they want now?" Ziegler asked tiredly. "They're offering to teach you how to make better threats, sir. They say your current ones are amateur hour, and they want to help you improve." Ziegler put his head in his hands. Even their offers of help were insulting. 2 months after the Korathian fleet arrived at Earth, Admiral Ziegler finally decided to attack. His empire was collapsing, His reputation was destroyed, and species across the galaxy were laughing at him daily. He had only one option left: destroy the humans before they could humiliate him any further. All ships, prepare for assault, Ziegler commanded from his bridge. His voice was tired, defeated, but still trying to sound authoritative. Target their major cities. We end this today. But when he gave the order to advance, something unexpected happened. Half of his fleet didn't move. Commander Vextal, Ziegler called to his second-in-command. Why aren't the outer squadrons responding? Vextal looked at his displays with confusion. Sir, I'm getting messages from the captains. They're requesting permission to surrender. What? The crews want to defect to Earth, sir. They say they want to learn human comedy techniques. On the Korathian ship Silent Death, Captain Krathmer was having a crisis. His crew of 200 alien warriors were gathered in the main bay, watching human comedy videos on portable screens. They were laughing. Actually laughing, which was something his species rarely did. Captain, his weapons officer said, still giggling at a video of human children pretending to be scary aliens. Do we really have to attack these people? They're hilarious. Our orders are clear, Krathmer replied, but his heart wasn't in it. But, sir, his navigation officer added, look at this. She held up her screen, showing a human comedian doing impressions of Admiral Ziegler. They've made our Admiral funnier than our actual entertainment shows. I haven't laughed this hard in 50 years. Similar conversations were happening on ships throughout the fleet. Alien crews who had spent decades conquering and destroying were discovering something they had never experienced: pure, joyful humor. On Earth, Admiral Jake Patterson was coordinating what might be humanity's final broadcast. Every human with a camera, microphone, or internet connection was preparing for the biggest comedy show in galactic history. Okay, everyone, Jake announced through the global communication system. The aliens are moving in for their final attack. This is our chance to show the galaxy what happens when you try to intimidate humans. Captain Lisa Martinez had transformed the military command center into a broadcast studio. Cameras were set up everywhere, with humans ready to provide commentary on the alien attack as if it were a sporting event. Ladies and gentlemen across the galaxy, Lisa began, her voice going out to billions of beings on thousands of worlds. Welcome to the Korathian Fleet's farewell tour. I'm Lisa Martinez, and with me is Admiral Jake Patterson. Jake, what do you think about their attack formation? Jake studied the tactical display showing the approaching alien ships. Well, Lisa, I have to say, they're flying in what appears to be the shape of their own fleet's weakness. If you connect the dots between their ship positions, it spells out, "We quit" in 17 different languages. That can't be intentional, can it, Jake? I don't think they know, Lisa. But look at this. Jake pointed to another section of the fleet. This group over here is flying in a formation that looks exactly like a question mark. It's like they're asking us, are we doing this right? Commander Ryan Cooper joined the broadcast from the tactical station. And if you look at the overall fleet movement, they're approaching Earth at the speed limit. They're literally obeying our traffic laws while trying to invade us. Across the galaxy, beings were gathering around screens, watching the human commentators turn an alien invasion into entertainment. The broadcast was being translated into hundreds of languages, with alien species adding their own commentary. The Vortani were taking bets on how long it would take for the Korathians to give up. The Trilaxions were selling popcorn equivalent snacks for the show. The Zeltharians had declared a galactic holiday to watch the humans make fun of their former oppressors. As the alien fleet approached Earth's orbital defense platforms, something remarkable happened. Instead of firing weapons, the human stations began broadcasting. Captain Nicole Brown was still providing sports-style commentary, but now she was joined by comedians, scientists, teachers, and regular citizens. The entire planet had become one giant comedy show. "And here comes the Korathian fleet," Nicole announced, moving with all the speed and grace of a parade of elderly turtles wearing cement shoes. "Their formation is so scattered that our air traffic controllers are offering to help them stay." Organized, Dr. Rachel White added psychological analysis. "Notice how their ship movements show classic signs of uncertainty. They're advancing and retreating at the same time, which is physically impossible, but emotionally understandable." Commander Alex Turner provided technical commentary. "Their weapons are charged, but not aimed at anything specific. It's like they brought guns to a comedy show, but forgot to load them with bullets." But the final blow came from an unexpected source. Admiral Zeektor himself appeared on the communication channels, trying to deliver one last threatening speech to terrify the humans into surrender. "People of Earth," he began, his forearms spread wide, his voice trying to sound menacing. "This is your final warning. Surrender now, or face the full power of the Korathian war machine." He paused dramatically, expecting fear and panic. Instead, Jake Patterson's voice came back immediately. "Admiral, we've prepared something special for your farewell speech. Earth's children have written you a goodbye song." Before Zeektor could respond, the voices of 10,000 human children began singing in perfect harmony. They had learned the melody from the remix of Zeektor's earlier threats, but now they had written new words. "Goodbye, Admiral Grumpy Face. Time to go back to outer space. You tried to scare us, but we just laughed. Now you're going home on your floating raft. Thanks for the memes and all the fun, but your scary show is finally done." The song was broadcast on every frequency, in every language, to every corner of the galaxy. Children's voices, pure and innocent, singing a farewell song to the galaxy's former terror. On the Korathian flagship, Admiral Zeektor stood frozen as the children's song echoed through his bridge. His crew looked at him with expressions ranging from pity to embarrassment. "Sir," Commander Vextal said quietly, "perhaps it's time to consider retirement." The alien fleet began to turn around. Not in formation, not with military precision, but in the scattered, confused way of beings who had forgotten why they were fighting in the first place. As the Korathian ships limped away from Earth, Jake Patterson made one final broadcast. "Admiral Zeektor," he said, his voice kind but firm, "you're welcome to come back any time. But next time, maybe try saying hello instead of threatening to blow us up. We're pretty friendly once you get to know. U.S." 6 months later, the former Admiral Zeektor was living quietly on a small moon in the Outer Rim, making pottery and trying to forget his military career. He had taken up painting as therapy, creating surprisingly beautiful landscapes that were nothing like the angular, intimidating designs of his former fleet. Earth had become the galaxy's comedy capital. Alien tourists arrived daily to attend human comedy shows, learn stand-up techniques, and buy souvenirs from the species that had defeated an empire with jokes. The Galactic Comedy Defense Force was headquartered in New York, with Captain Amy Johnson as its first commander. Their mission was simple: protect oppressed species through the power of humor, and teach bullies across the galaxy that laughter was stronger than fear. Captain Lisa Martinez delivered the final report to the Galactic Council. It turns out the pen isn't mightier than the sword, but a really good joke can conquer an empire. Who knew that all the galaxy needed was a good laugh? And across the stars, billions of beings were still laughing.